the inevitable truth is that your life won't last forever. You think about the people you love deeply, and thinking about it might actually hurt. Have you ever wondered if you missed opportunities to show more love, give more love, or demonstrate more love? There are times in our life when we are reminded that there is nothing more important than love. Because the greatest single need and desire of humanity is love. To love is the greatest power, privilege, and freedom we possess. And every thought, word, and action motivated by love matters. Love is the highest expression of what it means to be human. What I'd like to offer you is the idea to not leave love left undone. There may be things you don't accomplish, attain, or achieve in this world, but don't let shrinking back from love be one of them. If you're fortunate, you discover that love is the only thing that really matters. Love heals everything, and love is all there is. That's why I've started a love wave, an intention to demonstrate the undeniable possibilities when we look at life through the lens of love. After all, as you look back at your life, I'm sure you'll agree that life was always about that. It was all about love. This show is intended to highlight those that are committed, like I am, to bring their experiences, insights, and wisdom to advance what we believe to be true. That love is still the answer. Welcome to Love Wave Live. Hello and good morning. I'm just so pumped up this morning. In watching that video, there are a couple things that it's so good to stay grounded for me in terms of why I'm doing what I'm doing and who I am in the midst of it. And just this idea that Love Wave Live exists, right, to demonstrate the undeniable possibilities when we look at life through the lens of love. And today there are so many different programs and sunglasses and lenses that we see, and hear and feel that are being spouted out that are bringing division. And I know that there's a question that I ask when I'm feeling, angst and I'm feeling separation, or I'm feeling, just in my body that something just isn't right. And our question is, what would it mean for me to love right now? And it always stops me in my tracks because I'm finding that love shows up so differently for the moment. And I'm also knowing that as I show up with no agenda, but to have radical acceptance for the soul or the human being that is there, it just transforms what I'm creating in my life. So with that being said, I just want to welcome you all to Love Wave Live. This is a virtual stage, and I've transitioning from an unconditional life, the live stream I was doing. And now under the guise of Love Wave Live, I want to bring you those thought leaders and change makers, those divine nobodies, as I call them, and just folks who are committed to the cause of love. And they're showing up in so many different ways. And today's guest, I'm going to be able to prove that. So every Saturday, I'm bringing a virtual stage where I'll get out of the way and allow them to speak and to impart and to share their own insights, their own expertise, their own experiences of how love has transformed their life and the work that they're doing. And today is no exception. So let's just get started. My guest today, I just smile every time I speak to this woman. She's just a ball of light. Kerstin Caldwell. She is the founder of Gaining Perspective and formerly the Yes Lab, where she has reached thousands of people of all ages through hundreds of live performances and workshops. Her love of improv was ignited in high school, and she went on to train at two of Chicago's most famed institutions. The Second City is one of them, and IO, which is formerly Improv Olympic. But it was when she studied with Alan Arkin that Kirsten discovered the use of improvisation as a tool for self-awareness. And that's when she felt that her passion and her purpose was aligned. Now, over a span of 8 years, teaching as an artist in residence at William Smith High School in Aurora, Colorado, Kirsten developed the program she now brings into classrooms all over the Denver metro area, teaching young adults how to self-regulate their emotions and maneuver through conflicts with grace. That's absolutely Kirsten's greatest reward. And I know her, that's absolutely her heart. Now, she is thrilled that the success of this program is working to expand its outreach to local prisons and recovery programs so that both kids and adults can learn to recognize their habitual behaviors, develop more positive communication skills, and transform it into being more aware and confident in themselves. So, gosh, what an amazing opportunity to hear from Kirsten. So I'm going to shut up and bring her on. And so, you there? There she is.
Hello.
Hey, Kirsten. How's it going? Bright one. Yeah, you look nice and vibrant.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling all the stuff. I'm just feeling alive and wonderful.
That's awesome. So good to have you here. Now I'm noticing your background already, and your babies are in your background.
Yeah.
Share with everyone about your kids. I just want to.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Amara is the one you can see right there. That she is the adorable first one. Elliot, oh gosh, I don't know if we can see. Oh, he's next to it with, he's got a little Spider-Man mask on in that one. Mara is almost 9. Elliot is almost 6. So we are 8 and 5 right now. And they are my greatest teachers. They came into the world through a lot of shitstorms. I actually had 3 miscarriages before Amara and 2 before Elliot. So for them to get here, I knew whoever's making it through this pipeline is going to have some fierce personality and will. And it's so true. It's so true. They, from the get-go, have taught me so much and continue to. I mean, I love them.
Our kids are our greatest teachers, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, today your talk is called "Allow the Shitstorm." And I know for some that could be uncomfortable because there's so much conditioning around keeping our shit together.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a farce in terms of this performance mode that we go in. Like, we have our life together, and we can utilize social media as a way to hide and show, my life is just amazing.
Yeah.
And so I am sure that those who are watching are really anxious to hear more. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over the stage to you. Thank you for being here, and I will be back to chat.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Oh, so yes. So here's the deal. Everything that I do in my life, for the most part, is improvised. I've been doing improvisation for 27 years, and it has become the lens through which I see everything. And I think really the biggest piece of that is because it is so deeply ingrained in my neurology and in my muscle memory that it feels odd for me, after doing this for so long, to have a goal and have to achieve and go towards that goal in this way, when I know I have been reprogrammed back into this improvised life, which is honestly, as children, how we are brought to the world. We don't have an agenda. It's not like, well, by the time I'm 18 months old, I'm going to be walking, or, I'm going to be reading by this age. None of that is happening. But it is because we have done what I call, as we age into becoming adults, we have bought into the lies of adulthood, these stories, these programmings, these conditionings that have taught us that in order to be successful, you must do these things. And in order to be liked, you must behave this way. So much of that obviously comes from our upbringing. It starts with that family dynamic, right? With whatever your family of origin believes it's there. It could be from a religious background. It could be from whatever your family was doing to please their parents and generations before them, right? The traditions of our family. Our family doesn't do that. There's so much there. Even just talking about it makes me feel heavy and weighed down. But there was always something in me that felt like I was a light that was brought here. And I remember seeing myself like in Sunday school singing This Little Light of Mine, right? I'm gonna let it shine. And that plus like going to church on the Sundays that they had cookies and punch, that was like the coolest part, right? Because there was something about it that was like, yeah, I am a light. There's something here for me to do. But it was a lot of years of losing that through believing the lies of adulthood, of who I had to be and what I had to become, that my light wasn't shining, and I was hiding it under a bushel like you weren't supposed to do, right? No, I'm gonna let it shine. Well, it's funny how I had to relearn it and really relearn how to get back to who I was when I came into this world, through some really yucky circumstances. So things like the five miscarriages I talked about. Here's what's up. I wasn't in it as deeply as you would think in terms of the pain, the grief, the horror. It was this frustration that I know I'm supposed to be a mom. What the hell's going on? Why can't I control this? With that first pregnancy, I had no idea I was pregnant. All of a sudden, oh my God, I'm pregnant now? Like, oh, this wasn't when I planned to be pregnant. This was not, oh God, this ruins our schedule, our thing, right? And so I wasn't attached to this life inside of me. And by the time we went and we got that first ultrasound, I was like, okay, great. So do the ultrasound. And the woman says, oh, wait, hold on. There isn't a heartbeat. I'm like, okay, so wait, what does that mean? So there's no heartbeat. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure there's no heartbeat. Let me go get a doctor. Okay, all right. So the doctor comes in. Yeah, we're so sorry, but this baby it didn't take, and it's not going to happen. And so here are the things that could happen next, and you can make choices. I was not able to process what the hell was going on. It was like, wait, I was pregnant. Now I'm not, but I technically am. But then, what? My ability to take the skills of improv and do them so well on stage, to utilize that, to be in the moment and go with the flow, didn't translate to off stage for some reason. But it was in this moment that, like, looking back, I can see, oh, wow, why are you not improvising and going with the flow here? I was in a deep shitstorm of freaking out internally, not because I had lost a pregnancy like most people do, right? The sadness, the grief, the horror of that. I was upset because I was like, what the hell just happened? I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant. What? And now and my body is going through these hormonal things. And the guilt that I felt that I wasn't, even though I've wanted children my entire life, that I wasn't feeling so deeply saddened by this experience because I didn't have time to connect to it. I didn't have time to say, yay, I'm excited. I didn't have time to process that the entire thing was happening. And therefore, it was like being in a crazy, weird dream where you can't believe it's all true. So for me, I had to allow the feelings of inadequacy, the feelings of not being good enough to then be a mother because I didn't feel like an angel came through me. You know what I mean? Like my baby, some women in a very early pregnancy are so excited and so connected, but that's something they knew was happening. That's something they wanted. I wanted it, and yet I wasn't processing it, right? So there's one. There are other, as I had more miscarriages, of course, there was more of the frustration and the now I want it, now it's going to happen, and now I have to control it. Why can't I control this? And then Amara comes. She comes into the world and she has 3 internal head bleeds. She's in the NICU for 6 days. We don't know if our beautiful little baby is going to have brain damage. And I am this mom who's been inside of inside of labor for 29 hours and hasn't slept, obviously, and then has a baby that she needs to feed every couple of hours, who's in the NICU and could have a potentially life, altering issue going on. And in retrospect, again, why am I not tapping into the improv stuff? Why am I not tapping into allowing? It's because my body was in fight or flight. My body went into a very protective mode, which is very, very real. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit later. But skip to some other shitstorms, just to give some brief shitstorms of my life. Some other shitstorms. I have been injured 3 times, actually 4 times in car accidents. I've been hit 3 times, and I was a passenger in a rollover on the highway. It wasn't until the last accident 7 years ago, where I was hit by a car that was hit by a drunk driver, that I was given this diagnosis of PTSD, that I couldn't function. I didn't want that PTSD diagnosis. And again, retrospect, why wasn't I using my improv skills? Why couldn't I allow that I had to lie in a bed? People had to take care of me. I could not function like I thought I could. It was this major revelation after that where it hit me that, okay, I can do this thing on stage where I allow everything to be as it is. I allow people to talk to me in ways that I would never let them talk to me in real life. And I respond in a way that's humorous, and it's fine because it's in this little box of the stage, right? I can allow really horrible things to happen to me on stage. But in my real life, when real things happen to me that aren't so great, I go into freak out mode. Why the separation? Why the difference between the two? And over the past couple of years, I started just really making this intentional shift that, damn it, I've got the neurology, let's use it. Improvisation, allowing everything to be as it is. So let me give a little history about improvisation quickly, because when a lot of people hear improvisation, there's that little bit of a tightening up, a freak out, like, oh, I could never do that. Those people are so amazing. They're just so funny. They're so brilliant. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But what's really even more true for those people is that they have trained to calm their nervous systems and focus only on the person or the people in front of them and fully listen and respond in an authentic way in that environment. So the history of improvisation itself is that back in the 1920s, a young woman who was an actor in Chicago by the name of Viola Spolin, she was working at this place called the Hull House, which was a Jane Addams residence. And in the 1920s in Chicago, the Hull House was a place where immigrants were coming to Chicago, and they would settle there temporarily while they were looking for places to live and jobs. So here are these people from all these different nations around the world coming to Chicago, settling here, not speaking the same language, but feeling safe and feeling a little bit more confident in this new life that they were creating, right? And the woman running it at the time, her name was Neva Boyd, and she was a social psychologist who was working with the use of play. She was working with games and folk music and folk dances, and using art and singing and poetry to come up with ways for people to engage. How is it that we come together when there's a problem? The problem is we all don't speak the same language. Well, how can we come together and still see the humanity in each other? How can we come together and still enjoy ourselves and feel like we connect and belong? That was her big project. And Viola was one of her students. Viola, being an actor in Chicago, she was learning how to take games and utilize those to solve conflicts, to get people to come together and bridge that gap. And Viola had this amazing upbringing where, with a bunch of performance kind of background stuff, her family would just sit in the living room and play games on, endlessly after dinner. And she had that mentality of making something performative and interesting and fun. And so that was very, very like a wonderful, wonderful synchronistic thing for her. And what she learned then was that, well, great, whenever I see a problem, I just create a game. And those games in the theater world, yes, have become a very, very, very foundational way of looking at being present, being available to your scene partner, and being authentic in your response to that, as opposed to reactionary to what's going on around you. So her son, both of her sons grew up in this work. And her one son, Paul Sills, he grew up in it in Chicago and eventually created some little theater groups that were playing with this work and eventually created this thing that became the Second City. So Second City, very big in our world, one of the leading areas or institutions for teaching improvisation and sketch comedy, right? The goal was never, let's be as funny as we can be. But because the work itself was so genuine and so pure, the people on stage were showing the audience a reflection of what society was behaving like at that time. And they have ever since the 1950s when they opened. Political satire, human, looking at the way we're responding to things around us in ways that are like, really, that's how we're doing things. But putting that humor on top of it in a way that makes it palpable and hopefully knocks your head a little bit and goes, is that how you want to do this? So the intention behind it was never that. That's what it evolved to become. But when people hear improv, they think, oh, immediately I have to be funny. When I started working with Alan Arkin, it hit me, oh, holy crap. He had worked with Viola when he was 5 years old, studying to be an actor. He had worked with Viola when he was one of the original members of the Second City. He got her work in a way that really popped into my brain that, wait a second, who I am as an individual coming to this work gives depth and meaning to this work on stage. But if I'm really staying with it, who I am with this work is who I am in this life. Because when we think about it, we're all performing. There is a performance we put on for the people that we are around, right? You might have a performance that you put on for who you are when you're with your family of origin. You might have a performance of who you are when you are at work. You might have a performance of who you are when you're around that one friend that kind of agitates you a little bit, right? There are certain behaviors that you have that are different in each one of those scenarios. But each of those scenarios are a part of you and your life. Your life is a movie where you're the star, and all of the perspective of that is coming from your life story. Okay? So when I teach improvisation now, for the stage or off the stage, in life skill, with kids, with adults now, what I'm teaching is something that I call the practice of playful presence. How are you playfully present with this moment? And the reason why I look at it that way is that I realized a few years ago, oh my gosh, well, when I say yes to any game that I'm playing in improv, I am saying yes to play. I say, cool, I want to go play. Awesome. But when I have resistance to it, when I say no, I have immediately chosen to suffer. So which one do I want more of? Huh? I know which one I naturally want more of. I know which one that little girl singing this little light of mine wanted, right? And so I allow her to come forth and enjoy the hell out of that moment. And when I have resistance, I get curious about it. I used to judge it. I used to go, oh, I mean, that person, I don't want to work with that person. Oh, it's what we're doing. It was never, or actually sometimes it would be, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. I can't believe it. Just blah, blah, blah. All these things we do to ourselves, right? And really, I started looking at, okay, that's that concept of if I'm saying yes, I'm playing. If I'm saying no, I've chosen to suffer. Well, then I look at everything in life differently and I go, wait a second, everything's a game. Everything can be viewed as a game. There's the game of having to pay your taxes. There's the game of needing to go fill your car with gas. The game of doing laundry. The game of a first date. Like some of these things, when I say them, they create an emotional response inside of our bodies based on our own love of doing that thing, right? Or our dislike of doing that thing, our resistance or our yes, our play or our suffering. And yeah, there are so many things that we get to do that are going to be fun and wonderful. But there are also so many things we're going to get to do that are going to be craptastic and horrible. And it just has to do with how you view the game. Okay? So I found out that when I started approaching these games, and it had to be small things. It couldn't be like how I'm viewing me dealing with the aftermath of a crash. It had to be small things like, okay, I got to get this house cleaned. Okay, I don't want to do it, but it's got to be done. So I'm going to put in the earbuds. I'm going to put on the music that motivates me and brings me into that vibration of excitement and shaking my booty butt, singing my butt off while I'm cleaning. And then before I know it, a couple hours have passed and I have a clean house and I feel so much better. So I started making games for myself to just achieve play in my daily life. Singing while I'm cooking, making up stories with my kids and telling stories about them in third person when they don't want to get ready for the day. Coming up with ways to pass our time together when you have impatient children with you in a line somewhere. Going down the aisle with a little kid at a grocery store and being like, ooh, how many purple boxes are there? Oh, do you see any other colors? Making games out of the mundane because I just like it better. And I like how it feels better than feeling like crap in my body. And with all of the shit storms I've endured, I have felt that so deeply. And my depression and my anxiety have been so off the charts that when I noticed that there was a way for me to shift into a more positive way to handle the shitstorm around me, holy crap, I had a different sense of that control that I thought I needed to have in getting pregnant, right? I had control of my response, which is really the only thing we ever have control of, right? Just watching Hamilton recently. Oh man, I am the one thing in life I can control. I'm inimitable. I am an original. It's that comes through me just on its own so often when I need to be reminded, all right, you got this, you got this, you got this. Now, going back to that limbic response that's happening in the body, what I've noticed through my own healing of the PTSD, not that I'm through it, I still live with it, and it's a managed thing that I have to work with all the time. I found this wonderful thing called neurosculpting, which is an amazing meditation tool that was created by a wonderful woman named Lisa Wimberger. And I'm actually getting certified in this wonderful modality because I've seen its power in my own life. But in learning how the brain functions and learning that when we go into these limbic states of like, I've got to get it all figured out, I've got to work, we're using this limbic state in things that aren't a tiger chasing after us, which is what it was created for in our primitive brain, right? And in this life, it's not as big of a deal to not reach a deadline, right? It's not as big of a deal if we run out of eggs. But we're allowing our bodies, because we've been running that neurology in our brains, we're allowing that to take our bodies into this state of highly altered stress states. And in learning for myself that, oh my God, okay, there is the neurological pattern of the improviser. There's also the neurological pattern of massive trauma. And when I knew the trauma was there, and I learned techniques and how to use breath to come back into my body, to be present in a way that I thought only play could do, I realized, okay, here's another game. Here's another tool for me to be able to sit and regulate that stressful response in my body, for me to be able to rewrite the story in my head that when that trauma came in and went, oh God, you're so stupid, I could say, oh, let's look at that. I'm so stupid. Where is that in my body? Where can I find it with a color? Where can I take my breath and help it to perhaps leave my body? And with my imagination and my creativity from improvising for so long, what if I came up with a new color and I placed it in those same parts of my body where I released that story that I'm so stupid? It has been life-changing, to say the least. The smile and the radiance that happens from me now, it's not all day long. Please believe. This is, ask my children, this is not who they see all day long, especially during COVID. But the ability to remind myself that there is this fine line, this veil of existence on the other side of the chaos. When the shitstorms happen in here, there's the freedom here. And in any moment, we can just allow ourselves to get there. So I ask you to take a look at what the shitstorm is in your life, or the many shitstorms, right? You always have your breath to come to as your first gateway into this moment. And you also have the ability, this high functioning brain that is wanting to protect you. And you can say to it, thank you so much for protecting me. Now, how do I make this approach to this shitstorm a little more fun in this moment, so that it can be a little more fun in this moment and a little more fun in this moment? I swear to you, it's crazy and it works, because I do this on a daily basis, and I've watched teenagers do it and I've watched adults do it. And I just love that play is this unifying thing that we have all lost from our childhood. But if you're lucky enough to get back to it and keep it alive in your regular life, it releases so much of the pressure. So I hope that that helps you in some way, shape, or form. And I thank you so much for taking the time to be here and listen to me. And I'm super excited to sit with Joe and chat about anything.
Awesome. Wonderful. Let me see. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Before we get started, I wanted to bring in some comments from our viewers.
Totally.
Let's see. This is going to be a fun one here. So Gwen said, "You're a beautiful person. I almost can't really wait to do housework."
Yeah. Yes, yay, Gwen.
So, yeah, that's awesome. And then Eva, who is one of our big fans here, she had a really good point. It's what I was thinking as well. Isn't improvisation like being 100% in the moment?
Absolutely. The whole point of Viola's work is, how am I being present on stage? She has these things called the 5 obstacles to a direct experience. Direct experience is what she wanted for her actors on stage. And so if I am to be directly experiencing what's happening right here, right now, just like this conversation between the two of us, I can't have the approval-disapproval syndrome happening, which is any kind of judgment. And I love that she calls it a syndrome, because it is an absolute illness. It's me, my behavior is coming from a place of wanting to impress you and wanting you to love me, or my judgment of, well, this is stupid, that's stupid, I'm stupid.
Right.
Self-pity, which is what I call the hamster wheel of regret. It's where you're just running on this hamster wheel of something that happened in your past. And when you really stop and you think about how much of your life has passed you because you've gone into an old story and just ruminated on it, that's a huge one. I can't be in this moment with you if I'm thinking about that thing.
Right.
The third one, success and failure. I got to get this right. I have to be perfect at improv. I have to put the checklist of don't ask questions and I'll always say yes and all the okay. If I do that in conversation, I can't be present with you. And also if I go, ooh, that looks hard, the failure side of success and failure, I'm not going to even bother to jump in, right? The fourth one is attitudes, which when I teach high schoolers, I'm like, so it's just being a middle finger. When you walk in here to the rest of us and you are all your behavior is middle finger, like fuck you, da, 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 da. Okay, cool. Well, we can't access you. That's cool. Right. But then the last obstacle is the mother of all the others, and it's fear. If I am in a state of fear, if I'm in that limbic response where I feel like something is attacking me, which a lot of our teenagers are, a lot of our kids are, then I can't open up to you in a vulnerable way until I feel safe and secure and protected. And it's not just the teenagers, it's the adults, because the teenagers grow up to be the adults, you know? Right. So a big part of it for me is you are redeveloping your inner child.
So earlier, when I was introducing you, you had mentioned that when you were working with Alan Arkin and you got this epiphany that improvisation is a tool for self-awareness, right? And so as you were sharing what happened with your first pregnancy and then, the unfortunate, accidents, what have you, how improv comes into play.
Right.
Is there a mechanism, a question that prompts you to, put on the mindset of this is an improv moment?
I think yeah, absolutely. I think there is now. A lot of those things, I wasn't connected to the duality. It was a duality at that time when those things were happening. So it's in retrospect that I see it clearly now. It's now in these moments of, okay, we're in an actual shitstorm, y'all. We're in more than one shitstorm at a time, y'all. Right. And how I'm responding to each one as that is the thought that arises. So whatever my thoughts are that arise about just COVID itself, how do I use the improv skills? And I think for me, it really is just accessing breath. There isn't a thought that I think, because I think I've been doing it so long. It's just checking in with myself through breath and going, cool, where is it in my body?
Okay.
Finding it and then either moving with it or making a sound from it. So a lot of the performance-based stuff that I do that I've actually pulled into the classroom with kids is what emotion is in your body right now?
Yeah.
And how do you know that? Like, look at your body. How's your body showing it? And sometimes we have to actually activate it because we've gotten so good at hiding our true emotion.
Right.
That a kid can look at me and go, I'm so fucking pissed right now. But I'm like, really? I don't see it. Can you show me where that is? Right. And then they start getting into like, cool. How does it feel to do this and to make that noise? Ooh, I feel better. I feel better. It's still there. Okay, cool. Great. Use it on me in this moment. Let's do a scene together.
Wow.
Yeah. And so giving that kid the opportunity to use that emotional space, express that emotional space, the truth of that moment.
Yes. So
and see that they come out on the other side okay.
Yeah. So just like if I were to take an improv class or do something that would develop those skills, there is a sense of risk.
Yes.
That comes up.
Yeah. Anything new.
Say it again. It's what?
Anything new does that.
Anything new.
Yeah.
Right? And I started to think, I don't know why, but you've heard Mel Robbins with the 5-second rule.
Yes.
It's kind of the countdown to I act, right? And I don't have time to think about all this stuff, but I move into this place of action, right? That takes me out of the state that I'm in.
Yep.
Is that a form of improv?
Oh, it absolutely is. So much of what I started noticing when I started getting into meditation and looking at consciousness and consciousness teachings, I was like, wait a second, y'all are talking improv. You are talking improv. How is that happening? And what hit me was that as I'm looking at like my 5-year-old, the way that he responds to the world, you would ask me another time, like, hey, these kids, are they naturally good at improvising? Well, yeah, they are, because they're fully in the moment. And my 5-year-old, I've actually had to use that technique with. I will say, I need you to put a space between your thought and your action. Because right now, you're just responding to everything around you. And I know a lot of that is like, see how many, you're interested in everything. You want to touch it all. You want to feel it all. You want to see how it works and what it does. Right. But you just drop something heavy on your foot. So how could we perhaps put a space between the thought and the action? And so I'm actually having to, like, in the reverse mode of where with that 5-second, like, pause rule, you're doing that to get yourself motivated. I'm doing that to get him to regulate, to be like, I love everything, but I can't be in everything space all the time. Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's take a scenario that an everyday type of situation and walk us through how improvisation can help get us out of that state. So let's just say I'm having a moment where I'm discouraged. There are circumstances happening around me in my business, just personally. I know I haven't been eating healthy. So the mind is starting to do the checklist of like, you're worthless. Like, what are you doing? What? And the doubt has entered the room. All those things are happening. I just feel like I'm just going to give up right now. All right. I'm going to go back to the world where I didn't have to think. And I start to create this vibration in me that is just like, okay, I'm going to go have a pizza right now. It's just, I know what's happening, but it's like
Yeah.
my body is so used to that reaction and keeping me safe, ego is not
Yep.
right. So how would someone begin to be aware, okay, this is a moment that I can improv,
Right.
right? So
Right.
walk me through that if that was me in a
Yeah.
state where it's like, okay, I want to, I want to
Yeah.
integrate this. Right? Well,
Well, yeah. Well, it starts with this. It's not like you're improvising a new reality. You are allowing your reality to be your scene partner, and you
mm,
are responding to the scene partner in that moment. Now, you can't respond to the scene partner of the thought, because the thought is a thing that isn't here. You can't see it, feel it, taste it, touch it.
right.
That's not a real scene partner. That's you writing a new script for a show. And if you want to write, great, go get that on paper. So if I
Mm,
have, the first thing I do is, if I have too many thoughts going on, I just write them all down and view them as a witness. Ooh,
ooh,
there's that. Just let them all go. And I started doing this with my teenagers. Is just like, no, you really are going to write for 10 minutes. And I don't care what it is. You just today will take your pen and you can write, this lady's stupid. I can't stand her. This side. Oh, I don't want to do this. My hand hurts. My hand hurts. My hand hurts. My hand hurts. Great. And then you're going to get to something. Believe me, trust me, you will. And they hated doing it, but they
sure.
started noticing that, oh wow, if I really take the time to listen to my thoughts, I'm really mad about something. I'm really mad and I'm really upset about this. And then now we've got this actual thing that's coming out of our body that we're expressing. Because a
Mm,
lot of times what it is it's the thoughts I have found are actually all resonating on the same emotional wavelength that I have not taken the time to express in real time. Because in real life, it's not okay to express your emotion. It's
right.
not okay to express your reality. On stage, great, do it. And I think that became a really big place for me to just unload stuff and have sort of like this emotional shower happen where I felt so much better leaving the stage. But then in working with Alan Arkin, it was like, oh, but then people have paid money to feel my shit and to take it home with them, when really they've paid money to escape their own shit and not take mine with them.
Mm,
Fascinating. So let's go back to your question then. The way to approach it from an improvised state that I have found is to say, ooh, I hear that. I feel that. What's the deepest emotion coming up right now? That's my scene partner. And
mm,
that scene partner is actually, what came up for me is it's my inner child. It's her saying, this is too much. This too much is going on at once. And I really just need to be the focus right now.
mm,
And to have that moment, to express that emotion, to feel that emotion and be present with her, cry it out if I have to, scream, pound on things if I have to release that from my body has helped to come back to this state of just like homeostasis, of where I'm not in the limbic response. I'm suddenly hungry again. I'm suddenly wanting to eat foods that are good for my body. I'm suddenly it's happening
mm,
on a physiological and biological level.
right. So improv is permission. It's
Holy crap, it's all the permission.
yes.
And the thing about it is there are so many, and I was definitely one of them. Oh God, I was one of them. So many people who come to improvisation because it's a place where you get automatic feedback about how funny and worthy you are. And if you're funny, people laughing at you is an immediate sign that they love you.
Yeah.
So when you take a look at the amount of addiction and the amount of neuroses and the amount of misuse of power in the world of comedy, especially what's coming out, right, over the past few years,
Mm-hmm.
you can hide behind that clown, but you still have the pain on the other side. Just like I was saying, like, why could I not use my improv skills in my real life? It was only on the stage. It's that same kind of facade. Like,
Yeah.
my favorite comedians are the ones that when I meet them or I play with them or I know them, if you're not a good person, you're not living the work. You're not truly, I don't want you
I think
teaching my
that's
students,
exactly the key right there, is taking it conceptually in an experience that you have in a workshop or a seminar or a weekend thing. And it's the practice of it,
Yeah.
not because and I've been guilty of that. Like I can teach it all day long and I can speak to it, I can coach it, and I can
Yeah.
see it in others. But the power comes when I give myself permission, right, for myself, right? Fully expressive, fully in that moment, fully just not giving any F's about, right?
That's
I want to go to a comment really quickly.
yeah.
Oh, Ava, I think I want to take an improv class now. Yay.
Yay. Hey, message me. Let me know where you are and in the country, and I will let you know who to study with. Well, but then again, most everything's online right now, so you could even study with me as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, the breath is a major focus.
Yes, the breath is a major focus for me,
Yeah.
and has been on a conscious level for the last 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
The power of breath is just,
For me, I've started just calling it like that's the trap, not the trap door, but it's like the opening into grounding and being in this moment. We think that all this stuff is going on and freak out. But then if I just connect to my body, look at how much energy I release through one breath.
Yeah.
That your shoulders are tensing up, your voice is starting to clench.
Yeah.
So many things.
So, into what's happening today,
Yeah.
what we're experiencing with the pandemic, and then, especially in this election year, everything with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go down the list and the gamut that just floods. And when we turn the TV on, social media, in conversations with friends, etc. And it would appear to me that this is just a beautiful opportunity to exercise improvisation in these moments. So speak to maybe something specifically that you've been able to, apply and or use with some of those examples that I've just given. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when we got the call, just starting with COVID, that, hey, school's going to be closed in March, right? I am also a very deep empath. And so I felt the collective. I could think about the teachers. I could think about the administrators. I could think about the children. I could think about the children who had no food. And I could immediately feel the emotional vibration of each group of people that I was dropping into. And so I had to remind myself, hold on. What's your response?
Yeah.
What is it you're feeling in this moment? How does this make you feel? And here come all of the thoughts of, the kids are going to stay home. How am I going to go do Love Wave in May? How am I going to go do this? How am I going to work with them at home? Great, cool. Let them come. I invite you all to show yourselves. And it took a couple days. I said to my husband, I'm going to be pissed for a couple days because this stuff just needs to come out. Just let me adjust to this new reality. Because it's not every time. Like when I get on stage, I'm able to be with you in the moment, but it might take a couple seconds because there still might be a judge in my head going, what you just said is stupid. I do not want to be in that reality. And then I go, cool, great, here we are. And I join in anyway. But the same kind of thing in real life, it still takes me a couple days to get through the pissiness and the judgment and the whatever. And then I got to a place of, holy crap, you guys, pause for a second. For me, I take the perspective that I learned in improv to look at it from the characters, all the different characters' point of view. So that's just my point of view. What's it like for my kids? And I would just stop looking at it through my point of view and go, look at how happy my kid is that he doesn't have to get up and change out of his pajamas. Mm-hmm. And look how much more peaceful and joyful he is. Why don't I join that game right now? And we go build something with Legos instead of worrying about screaming at each other, getting out the damn house.
Yeah.
Right. So it's recognizing that we are stopping ourselves from what's around us. I always say, look up, look out, look within, notice your response to what's around you. We were safe. Yeah. We are healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's not the chaos that we feed into when we see someone else's perspective of it. And I have to remind myself that when I look at social media, because I haven't viewed the world the same way all of my friends have viewed the world, and they haven't viewed it the way I have. And the unfortunate thing is our emotions are coming up. Well, no, that's not the unfortunate part. The good thing is our emotions are coming up.
Right.
The unfortunate thing is we've never been taught how to appropriately use them to express ourselves.
That's good.
So social media is that place where we poop on each other, you know?
Right. For the viewers, if you want to learn more about Kerstin and some of what she's offering, please visit her at www.gainingperspective.com. You learn more about her and her work. And, you know, as you know, Love Wave is something that's near and dear to my heart. I just like to take just a second to talk about love and improv.
Oh,
How are those two?
well, it's interesting because it's almost like there's a visual that comes to mind where it's like I can't pull them apart because of my own passion for improvising. And I think that my passion for improvising is that I've been given permission to be myself. And tying that into my children. Here are these tiny little bodies that we feel such enormous, deep amounts of love for, right? They are permission. They are love. And in looking at that and saying, wow, if you're that love, it hit me while I was working with high schoolers. Like, if I love you this much, every kid in my classroom has been loved by somebody for a certain amount of time in their life, whether it be, you know, a few moments before they were given to another family, if it was by their grandmother, by an aunt, by, you know what, it's somebody has loved them as much as I love this little tiny person. That's true of me too. That's true of you too. And without love, where's our purpose?
Yeah.
That's what sets us apart from any other creature that I can think of, right? And the creatures come to teach us that too. You know, there's so many levels where we have these invitations to have a deep and meaningful connection. And improvisation is all about that connection. How do I connect with you in this moment? And it doesn't have to be some emotional thing, but it can be some, you know, oh, I never thought about the world like that. Oh my God, you're right. That's totally how I would respond. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I'm looking at our time. We're coming to, and so thank you for being here. There's two questions that I've asked every guest that's come on. So we have time, and I really would love to hear your responses.
Cool.
The first one is, if you were gifted a billboard that you knew would be seen by thousands of people a day in a major metropolitan city, right? What would be on the billboard? What would the billboard say?
I think it would say, be the youest you that ever you'd.
But okay.
It sounds totally weird.
Okay, write that down. Be the
youest you that ever you'd. The youest you that ever you'd. It's I see people, and it's funny because I think about this a lot too. There are these like airs that we put on to be around certain people. And my mom, I grew up in a funeral home, and my mom would answer the phone. She'd be like yelling at us, knock that off. Andrew's Caldwell Gibson Funeral Home. And so that's like one example of this compartmentalizing who we are. Now, that's not to say she needs to answer the phone yelling at people, but just this like turning it on and off kind of thing. Like, who are you all the way through your day? What character is you that gets to play? You really are the instrument that the emotions are playing through. Yeah. You know? And so it creates different sounds and different tones, but that doesn't mean you are that emotion.
Well, it's funny because I'm relaunching my apparel line in mid-September. I'm like, that's a t-shirt. I've been saying that almost every day when someone says something. They're like, that's a t-shirt. I love that. Be the youest you. I mean, oh my gosh.
Youest you that ever you'd.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I've got a couple others. I don't want you stealing it. No, just totally joking. We'll go in partnership because I've got a couple others.
There you go. All right. The second question is, if you could be remembered only by your words, what would those words be?
Oh man, only by my words. Why is this so hard for someone who talks all the time? I think what kind of comes through and feels a little sticky, but also is the truth, is just like, I think this would be it. This would be it. Holy shit balls, y'all. Like, I get so excited. Holy shit balls, everybody. Like that. I want people at my funeral to be so excited and go, holy shit balls.
Right.
Yeah. That's how excited I get about people coming together to enjoy one another and play. So holy shit balls, y'all.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Kerstin, for
welcome.
gracing us with your wisdom, your insight, your great stories. And, I know that those are who are viewers who have heard of improvisation, understand it. You give us some additional insights, how it can be applied every day, in our lives. So it's extremely valuable. Thank you for coming on. And for
Thank
those
you
who've
for
been,
having me.
yeah. And so for viewers, I'm going to ask that you invite someone to our show. Every Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 Central, and 11 Eastern time. I have some phenomenal guests lined up in the coming weeks and looking to continue with a diverse perspective of things, all undergirded with love. So thank you all for coming, and for showing up and supporting us. And just remember that love is still the answer, no matter what the question is in life. Thanks, everybody. Take care.